Welcome to your favorite political Poiki Second Take with Ashwyn Mberi. Now, we've had a fantastic year of making fun of politicians, amongst other important things, which include making fun of politicians. I like to emphasize that. But speaking of emphasis, we are going through our stories of the year. We had an absolute blast as Namibia's only political satire show. We are fresh on the scene. We're like green hydrogen, you know what I mean? There's a buzz around us, infrastructure is happening, even though the only thing that is evident of our impact is the 40 views we get on YouTube. I appreciate you all. Either way, it's time for the second take.
In 1994, a group of Namibians saw a need for a grassroots Namibian medical aid fund. The Prosperity Medical Aid Fund was born right here, among the hard-working fishermen and ship workers of Walvis Bay. In 2001, in order to establish a fund focused on its members that put their health first, the fund formed its own identity away from its administrators, Prosperity Health. It was named Renaissance Health as a symbol for the renewal of medical funding in Namibia, a transformation in health. Renaissance members voted for their first board of trustees who would carry the fund forward for all Namibians. By 2010, Renaissance had members across the entire Namibia, a fund founded by Namibians for Namibians to ensure access to quality healthcare. In 2020, RMA was put to the test with COVID-19. Supplying life-saving oxygen machines door-to-door to members when our Namibian hospitals were full, saving many of its members' lives. RMA is not just a medical aid fund, it's a partner in health for its members, whether through our chronic compliance programs or yearly wellness checkups. RMA was started by you. It belongs to you. A proudly Namibian-first medical aid fund providing the best in care for all Namibians. Renaissance Health Medical Aid Fund, serving Namibia since 1994. RMA, your health comes first.
All right, let's get into our stories of the year. On the 10th of September, we delved into Ali Angula's God-ordained presidential campaign. Namibia's former Deputy Executive Director in the Finance Ministry, Ali Angula, who announced in May that she will run for president in the 2024 national elections as an independent candidate, said God instructed her to contest. About 3 years ago, and this might sound very odd, she said, I had a dream, and in that dream, I was being told that I must run for the presidency. Now, I'm not one to question divine messages. I certainly respect everyone's rights to their own beliefs. However, if those beliefs involve potentially leading people and making decisions over their lives, I'm going to have at least one question, and I'll keep it concise. Is there a chance that she may have heard a voice that also asked her to be accountable to her business decisions? Because aside from First Lady Monica Gengos dragging her to court over unpaid loans worth 800,000 Namibian dollars, she's also being chased by Nedbank Namibia over a loan now worth 4.7 million Namibian dollars that she allegedly took from that bank in 2014. That's almost 10 years ago. A presidential term is 4 years. And running a country is as big as business gets, and one does not need divine intervention to understand that part. What an interesting one. We're going to take a short break.
Today we are going to learn how to bake.
Welcome everyone.
Things may not always go as planned, but our technology doesn't fail. Join Paratus today. Paratus, always prepared.
Our heartwarming moment of the week on the 17th of September zoned in on the intriguing political journey of Mayor Christopher Pappas.
futhi umalunga sishayamthetho neParliament namakhansela nomeya bakhona. Ngiphinde ngibingelele umndeni wakaButhelezi nabaholi benhlangano bonke abakhona. Ngibingelele kumhlonishwa wenhlangano yakwaZulu IFP ubaba uHlabisa all protocol observed. Akujwayelekile ukuthi ikhansela likhuluma emva komkhulu wenhlangano kodwa ngithunyiwe namhlanje ukuzovalelisa inhlangano le ye-Democratic Alliance. Sifike namhlanje namaguqa izilwane ezintathu uzokhalisa nomndeni kwaButhelezi nesizwe sonke sakwaZulu ngokuhanjelwa umntwana. Njengo-Democratic Alliance sithi lana ngokuxola nangokuthula wena mntwana wakaPhindangeni. Sabonga, amen.
You're still with the second take. Don't you dare touch that remote. We'll be back just now.
It's the Premier League, all on DSTV. All the goals, clashes, and moments. All of Rashford, Salah, and Saka.
Their start is getting better and better and better.
All in HD. Available on all these bouquets to choose from. To watch on all these devices. Get DSTV with an HD decoder, free installation plus 1 month compact for 1,549 Namibian dollars. It's the Premier League, all on DSTV.
From our show on the 24th of September, Namibian President Hage Geingob had much to say about Namibian youth during a visit to France, and it was definitely giving African parent. As an African child, there's a phenomenon you generally find hard to grasp, which is why our parents are ready to share our shortcomings to other parents the moment they sit together. Yes, sure, occasionally they will show you off, but at other times they throw your business out in the open like an ex-lover on Twitter, and it never feels warranted. This is how it was when President Hage Geingob leaned in on Namibian youth during an interview with a research university in Paris, saying the youth's demands to have a say in decision-making processes in the country should be respected. However, if they want to assume positions of power, they cannot be an alcoholic, the head of state said, smoking dacha, and you are even drunk and beating up women, he said of the youth. However, the president himself has in the past made startling allegations against senior officials in government whom he said were seen at the wrong places and at times under the influence of alcohol. Now, to point out a drinking and drug problem is one thing. To paint the youth with one brush is another. Yes, Namibia is one of the world's foremost consumers of alcohol, but that is a group project. And no one complains to O&L when the money is pouring into the government coffers. But the moment the youth wants to lead, it seems we become responsible for all the country's ailments. Yet the ailments appeared without the youth having an opportunity to lead. All I'm saying is, if the father of the house has declared himself the sole breadwinner for 33 years and there's less food on the table than there is alcohol in the fridge, then someone's going to drink. And by the way, Namibian youth have shown plenty of capacity to lead. For example, the likes of Patience Masua and Emma Theophilus. I wonder if the president still views them as youth, or perhaps joining SWAPO has aged them and it's become hard to tell. All I know is there are plenty of brilliant Namibian youths and they deserve a say in the country's affairs, just as they deserve to have their president speak highly of them on global platforms. There's nothing quite like a first look, but I promise you a second take is better. See you after the break.
From the day you were born and welcomed until your pensioner years on this earth, your life is filled with changes and phases. What mattered the most at age 10 may be an unknown memory at 25. The heartbreak at 16 may be replaced with wedding bells at 27. The degree you've always wanted or starting your career business may come true at age 30. and the dream to own your own home may come to realization at age 50. Whatever stage you find yourself in, whatever matters right now, Standard Bank has what you need to bank like you. Choose your own path. Choose endless possibilities. Standard Bank, it can be.
On the 1st of October, we focused on King Mswati's non-democratic democracy, as well as an African American's escape to North Korea. Now, the people of Eswatini headed to the polls on Friday for elections despite the fact that political parties are banned. In the lost absolute monarchy of Africa, formerly known as Swaziland, all powers are vested in King Mswati III. Elected members of parliament serve as his advisors. So the way I understand it, the king was like, I know you want democracy and the right to decide your own fate, so what I can do is give you the appearance of power without actually giving you power. It is essentially the partner that doesn't want to get married, so he keeps buying promise rings and plastic roses for Valentine's Day. Of course, that's a joke, because King Mswati has more wives than Mswati have democratic rights. Private Travis King, the US soldier who ran into North Korea in July, is in US custody and heading home after being expelled by North Korea into China, the United States said on Wednesday. Now, Travis King wanted refuge there because of inhumane maltreatment and racial discrimination in the US and the military, which made me wonder if books and television are banned in the military, because how is North Korea your option as a black man running away from racism and maltreatment? Here are a few of characteristics that make up North Korea's approach to human rights. Unlawful or arbitrary killings by the government, forced disappearances, torture and cruel, inhumane and degrading treatment and punishment by government authorities, harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, including in political prison camps, arbitrary arrests and detentions, political prisoners and detainees, transnational repression against individuals in another country, non-existent judicial independence, arbitrary or unlawful interference with privacy, punishment of family members for offenses allegedly committed by an individual, total state control of expression and media through censorship and repression, just to mention a few. To know that and to run to North Korea for refuge is like jumping out of a tree in order to escape a snake just so you can swim with crocodiles. No matter how well you've been trained, you are not safer in those waters. This is The Second Take. Don't go away for too long, because right after the break, we return with more stories. On the 8th of October, it was time to dissect the phenomenon of witchcraft in African politics. Continuing with the news, the leader of the main opposition party in Seychelles was charged on Monday as part of an investigation into alleged witchcraft. Patrick Herminy, the head of the United Seychelles Party, who has said he plans to run in the 2025 presidential election, has denounced the move as politically motivated. Herminy, also a former Speaker of Parliament, was arrested at his party's headquarters and his office was searched before he was later released. Now, prosecutors said Herminy's name was found in a WhatsApp message exchange with a Tanzanian man who was detained in September, allegedly in possession of items linked to witchcraft, including black wooden artifacts, small bottles of brownish liquid, and documents containing language and symbols. I have questions, and don't come at me. Keep all hyenas and talking snakes at bay, please. My first question: how does one prove that someone is making use of witchcraft without testing the witchcraft itself? Because I have seen some of the objects that got this man arrested in TikTok astrology videos. And also, if he is still an opposition leader, how effective has witchcraft really been for him? At first glance, though, one would think that witchcraft accusations are a rare occurrence in politics, but that may not be the case. What if I told you that there was an African politician that earned and received over 10 degrees, was lauded for his intellect for eons, a figure celebrated for ushering in a top-notch educational system, and even he couldn't shake the witchcraft paranoia, because he once accused his right-hand man, who later succeeded him in a military coup, of consulting witch doctors about his demise. Oh, and his family refused to have him buried in the National Heroes Acre of his country because they were worried that witchcraft rituals would be performed on his brain. If you were thinking about Robert Mugabe, then Bob's your uncle. What an interesting one. We're going to take a short break. On the 22nd of October, we had to give the United States of America a reality check on their impact on the world. US President Joe Biden launched a new mission on Thursday to convince Americans they should spend billions more on supporting Israel and Ukraine in their wars, arguing that only the US's involvement can prevent global chaos. American leadership is what holds the world together, said Biden. And I couldn't figure out if that was Father Time making another dramatic feature or if he actually believed what he was saying. Either way, much like the Biden administration's recent decision to build 20 miles of wall at the Mexican border, the irony was not lost on me. Mr. Biden said America held the world together. So in the spirit of togetherness of mind and logic, I should let you know that the CIA has confirmed a total of 7 countries that the US has overthrown, beginning with Iran in 1953, Guatemala 1954, that's back to back, followed by Congo in 1960, Dominican Republic in 1961, another double shot of Americano Democracia, which must have resulted in a regime change hangover because the country took a 2-year break. And then the USA picked up where they left off with South Vietnam, Brazil, and Chile. And for some more perspective, it has invaded 84 out of 194 countries recognized by United Nations. Yet somehow, having nose and gun barrel in other countries' business, especially when the business of oil is involved, is considered holding the world together. That said, everyone simply acts on what they know. And considering the glaring political, racial, and economic divisions in the USA, and the fact that former President Donald Trump stands accused of inciting an attempted coup in January 2021, it's safe to say that the lack of charity begins at home. Yes, home, where most men the same age as Joe Biden spend their time. You're still with the second take. Don't you dare touch that remote. We'll be back just now.
Taking care of children can be one of the busiest jobs in the world. That's why CrècheGuard is here to give you a little help along the way. Start the day with CrècheGuard's immune syrup to help build a strong immune system. CrècheGuard also offers other tasty supplements, such as omega-3 chews to support brain development. And for healthy little tummies, look for CrècheGuard's range of probiotics that come in drops, sprays, and delicious choc bars. Trust in CrècheGuard every day for healthy little bodies and developing minds.
The next days are not a measurement of time, but the distance from here to the finish line. For the race you are running, for your kids, your career, your health, your future. Not away, but towards it. While the voice in your head reminds you it won't be easy. But by simply swinging your feet towards the floor, you've taken the first step. Grow for it with Stamino Grow. 5-in-1 supplement available at all leading pharmacies.
On the 12th of November, I did my best to help the most vulnerable community in Africa, its aging dictators. All right, let's get down to business. 40 years ago, Every Step You Take by the Police was topping the charts with Billie Jean by Michael Jackson right behind it. 40 years ago, Motorola was circulating the very first mobile phone, and Super Mario was 2 years from being created. Fast forward to today, Taylor Swift and Doja Cat are topping the charts. Cell phones are literally the center of our lives, and grown men can make a living from playing video games. Now, in all that time, Cameroon has had one president, Paul Biya, who is celebrating 40 years in power. He is 90 years old, and many voices within the ruling Democratic Rally of the Cameroonian people have already called for him to vie in the 2025 presidential election for an eighth 7-year term. Listen, my grandfather is not 90. He's relatively healthy, but I'm not asking him to lead even my youth group without prioritizing his rest and perhaps his rather conservative heart. Who asks anyone over the age of 80 to take up another shift leading an entire country? Well, the Ivory Coast, Equatorial Guinea, Zimbabwe, obviously. Museveni gets an honorable mention because he just looks the part, and the last addition to the Old Boys Club is none other than Joe Biden. Now, all the presidents mentioned would have had their lunch taken by Paul Biya because even they are youngsters to him. And the thing about elderly folks is you can't make them do anything, even for themselves. Because last year, thousands gathered in the capital Yaoundé to celebrate the president, and he did not attend. The man was too tired to celebrate. How much energy do you feel he has for the pertinent issues constantly stemming from Cameroon? At some point, we need to feel sorry for these leaders, so I am starting a movement. Hashtag Let Grandpa Rest, a Robert Mugabe-inspired movement that seeks to protect elderly Africans from working 30 years past their retirement age. Believe it or not, Grandpa Biya, it's for your own good. Trust me on this one. There's nothing quite like a first look, but I promise you a second take is better. See you after the break. On the 19th of November, I weighed in on the siege in Gaza. The Middle East has dominated the weekly news cycle, understandably so. The recent development has been Israel bombing the Al-Shifa hospital because they allege that Hamas is using humans as shields. These human shields include newborn babies and suffering patients. Throughout this conflict, there has been calls to condemn all the violence from both Hamas and Israel, rightfully so. So before I continue, I absolutely unreservedly condemn Hamas. The attack should have never happened and the hostages should be freed. However, the debate on whether or not it is justifiable for Israel to bomb hospitals has been nothing short of mind-boggling. At what point did it become justifiable to kill children in hospitals? Many countries in the world have been calling for a ceasefire. The United Nations has condemned the attacks and released multiple reports of journalists being killed by IDF attacks. I get that this is classified as a war, but it seems like there is only one active army, and that army has some of the most advanced technology and tactics, yet they do not know how to attack targets without killing thousands of innocent people in the process. The same army has military commanders that have referred to Palestinians as human animals. They have military leadership that has publicly discussed the option of nuking Palestine. There are two countries involved, yet Benjamin Netanyahu has openly displayed maps that do not have Palestine on them. There are two countries at conflict, yet one has occupied the other since 7 June 1967. To argue that self-defense is killing 11,000 people in a country you occupy is unreasonable. And if you believe that it isn't, there's a strong chance that you have never known what it means to have another country dictate your livelihood whilst dehumanizing you, calling you human animals, for example. For Africans, this is a story that is all too familiar. For the over 300 Holocaust survivors who have called for a ceasefire, this story is all too familiar. Perhaps it's time to see all victims as your kin and all aggression as deplorable. Perhaps it's time to care for all human life. Thank you for watching the second take. It's been an absolutely fantastic show. It's been a fantastic year. We still have 2 episodes to go, but we just wanted to recap on what was happening in the year in case some of you were doing unimportant things and missing our show. So from me, Ashwyn Mberi, that has been today's second take.